Hello, this is the second episode of a series of interview with Utaites and Utaite connected people. And today's guest is Ayumi. Hello, Ayumi.
Hello, I'm Ayumi, Ayumi16 on Twitter. Hi.
Hey. So,
Hey.
as you might know, Ayumi is a translator. And she translates for Utaites. Ayumi, I have 10 questions for you.
Okay.
They are mostly connected with what you do on Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel?
Very nervous. It's my first time having an interview. I'm like, what should I say?
It'll be okay. Don't worry.
No? Will I freeze out? Who knows? Let's go on doing.
Okay, so the first question is from Twitter and is from Primo and Sakura.
Okay.
When did you learn to speak and write Japanese, and how? Was it because you wanted to translate?
It's a little bit embarrassing, but back in the days, like 2 to 3 years ago, when I first started to get into Utaite, I didn't know how to use Twitter, or like I didn't know how to navigate any blogs, so I didn't know there was translators. There was actually translators in this fandom, and I was like, I can't understand Urata's tweets. What should I do? And I'm like, how about I just learn Japanese? And that's how I started learning Japanese. So now that I think about it, it's a bit embarrassing. I learned Japanese for Urata actually. And then how did I learn? I'm sorry, this is gonna be really embarrassing for me at least, but how I learned Japanese is, you know how Urata tweets like good morning tweets every day and stuff, and then I started learning all the hiragana, katakana from there. Like I'm just like, oh, how do I read this? The first sentence is good morning, right? It's like ohayo gozaimasu, and I'm like, yo. I read it out like every time every time he tweets something new, I'm like, oh, I know this word is this word is ha. That's how I slowly start to learn all the basics of hiragana, katakana, and then I'll just start. And then if there's anything you don't know, you can ask a friend, or maybe you can just ask someone who's more proficient in Japanese, or maybe Google always helps. I spend most of my days on Google trying to find the words that I'm not familiar with.
I think that's how many people actually started.
Right.
It's cute.
Because I'm not good at studying actually, so when it comes, if you put a textbook in front of me, I definitely won't read it. And like, if I can't learn it this way, maybe I should just learn it by incorporating the things that I like, which is Utaite. So that's how I started learning Japanese, and yeah, I'm here now.
Second question. Do you have any advices to people who wants to learn Japanese?
I would say if it's for a hobby, or like maybe if you're similar to me, you just want to know what Utaites are saying, then maybe I would just say just to take your own time and like don't force yourself to read through lots of textbooks, or like force yourself to remember lots of things, because it's just gonna get tiring in the long run. So, and if you have anything that you are not too sure or not too familiar with, you can always ask someone who's also learning Japanese with you, or like maybe you can ask translators. I don't know, maybe you can just ask someone who's more proficient in the language, like, or like you can just ask me. Even though sometimes there's a lot of things that I'm still not really sure about, but you can ask me if you need any help. Just have a, how do I say this? Just be what else should I say? Just take your time and start learning step by step. It always works. And if anything you're not sure, just ask someone around you. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. what was the most difficult part of learning the Japanese language?
Most difficult part. It's definitely the katakana for me. Because I personally learn Chinese though, so I can speak both English and Chinese. So and Chinese and like kanji is like kind of similar, so I can kind of like gauge what they're actually saying. But katakana is like they're just it's so hard to understand, and I didn't know how to read it. It took me quite a long time, around 6 months or so, to actually read like katakana and stuff. It's really hard, and then the grammar is really difficult though. It's similar to English, but then when it's in a whole other language, it's a totally different case though. Just looking at it makes my head hurt. Until today, I'm still really bad at grammar when it comes to Japanese.
Okay, so you have answered the second question already. But do you know any languages other than English and Japanese? And do you plan to learn more?
I know English, Japanese, and Chinese as of now. And then if I'm planning to learn any languages, it will be Korean, I guess, or Indonesia, because I love Indonesian friends. But my brain is already hurting from 3 languages. Do I really want to study 2 more? Maybe if I have time or in the future. Yes. Then I'll study the languages.
This is actually the question I wanted to ask you after the interview on private. But I think it's okay to ask it here too. But we know that English and Japanese are quite similar if it's about the writing system, yeah? I mean kanji, yeah? So, what are the differences between Chinese and Japanese writing systems, or are there at least similar at all?
Writing system, how do I say it? Kanji and Chinese, like most of the words are actually really similar. So, and their meanings are, for most cases, they are actually quite similar too. But there are definitely some words which I cannot recall for now. But there are some words that have totally different meanings, and that was something that shocked me when I first read it. Because at first I thought it was this meaning, but it turns out to be a totally different meaning. I'm like, oh, I see. Chinese and Japanese. Other than that, to me personally, because I've learned Chinese already, Chinese grammar is slightly easier compared to Japanese. So.
The next question is from Nat. It's also from Twitter. How did you get into the world of Utaites, and what was your reason? Why you started to translating something from them?
I first got into Utaite during 2015 or 2016. That was when I started in the fandom, and I was just like, I just happened to, one of my best friends introduced Utaite to me. Like, she introduced like Soaru, Mafu, Amatsuki, these 3, and I'm like, oh, their voice is so good. Then I started listening to them, and then after that, I started getting into Urashima Sakata-sen, more like Uratanuki in particular back then. And then I stopped chasing after. That's not the word. I stopped following Utaite for a period of time until like 2018 or so. Then I came back, and after that I started learning Japanese from then on, and then until today. And then I started working as a translator. And so what was the reason why I started translating something from them? Maybe it's because I just want more people to talk to about when it comes to Utaite. Like, all of y'all know Utaite, mostly y'all started knowing them from their music. And then maybe I just want to introduce y'all more to about their personality or the things that they do outside of their music. That was my goal in the first place. Or like, just to get people more into my Oshi. something like that.
The next question is there are 3 questions from Jihyun. I'm sorry if I said it wrong. But when you translate, do you translate like in case of tweets? Like, do you translate from Japanese to Chinese and then to English, or do you translate them straight to English?
I translate them straight to English because, as mentioned earlier, there's definitely some words in Chinese that has a totally different meaning from the Japanese one. So I just jump from Japanese to English, and my Chinese isn't the best though, so if I filter it to Chinese, it might get even more confusing for me.
Okay, another question from Jihyun. Do you focus more on translating word to word, or understanding and giving the meaning of the tweets?
Oh, this is hard. I used to translate from word to word, and then I think I still do now when it comes to tweets and stuff, because they are real people, and playing around with the word seems a bit dangerous. Like, what if I screw it up, or like accidentally give it a total different meaning? But when it comes to the lyrics, I learned from my other USS translators that when it comes to lyrics, understanding is definitely better in that aspect. Like, it's alright to play around with words to give it a more in-depth, a better understanding. So when it comes to lyrics, I will focus more on the understanding part, and when it comes to tweets, it's a mix of both, I guess.
What are it's also from Jihyun. The third question from her. What are your thoughts on Japanese grammar system?
Japanese grammar system is really difficult. It's so hard to understand. Even now, I just tried to did some tests on my own, and then I keep getting the grammar wrong. Maybe when I talk to Japanese people, they're all like, "Wow, what is this grammar?" It's really difficult to understand. That's what I personally think. And from what my Japanese friends say, like when it comes to the grammar, when it comes to Japanese grammars, it's like a little hard. It's actually kind of hard for them. So, there's nothing I can say other than the fact that it's really hard. It's really difficult to master.
Next question is from Winnie, and do you have advices for people who want to translate Utaite tweets on their own?
Oh, this is kind of like a hobby, so I think you should just give it a go if you want to try. Like, and then if you have anything that you're not sure, it's always best to ask someone else, just in case. Because there's a lot of things that I personally don't know, and then I'll just go and ask my other friends who are better in the language. Like, what is he talking about actually? I'll just go and ask them, or like maybe you can just ask someone to double confirm it for you. Like what I do for all my lyrics, I'll ask a few of my friends to check it through for me. It's just to be safe, because in the end, the people that we are translating are actually real people. And
ninth question is, what do you use for translation? It's only your knowledge, or do you use dictionaries or translators like DeepL?
If there are any words that I'm not sure of, I will just check the dictionary, or I'll just ask one of my friends who probably has a better understanding. But other than that, is my own knowledge.
Okay, and the last question is from Kathy.
Okay.
And it's more about your oshis, so we'll leave the translating and linguistic topics. I actually changed this question a little.
Okay.
So, the first part of the question is, what is the thing that everyone could learn from your Oshis? I mean, Senra, Urata, Satomi, and Fate.
One thing that you can learn from them. When it comes to Urata, I think it's definitely his leadership skills, or maybe like the fact that he's really firm in what he says. Like when he says he doesn't condone this kind of action, it actually means that he really doesn't. He's just like strict. Whoa. This question was so sudden with when it comes to Sandra, then maybe how do I say, the way that he takes care of everyone. The way that he just takes care of everyone behind the scenes. Wait, what am I talking about? What I like about Oshi? Wait, this is wrong. Something that you can learn from Sandra is maybe I personally really like his way of thinking when it comes to a lot of things. So I think we can, I'm not saying to totally change your mindset to fit your own shape, but then maybe some of his advices can really be taken like seriously to grow in the, like you can take his advices. This is so hard to explain. But Sarah gives good advices, and then when you check some of my translations, that there are actually quite a lot of advices that might actually help you in your daily life. So you can learn certain things from there. And then for Urata, I think one of his best skills is definitely his leadership skills, and then you can learn a bit from there too. For I need to say for Satomi and Fate because they are not Utaite actually. But yeah, for these two, they are good people. It's so hard to explain. Oh my god. Yeah, I think that's it. Well, I can't think of anything right now. Oh.
It's okay. Nice. Okay, and the next part of this question is actually similar, but what's your favorite things about your Oshis?
Favorite thing about my Oshi. It's gonna be okay. I'll cut it short. For Urata's case, I just like how straightforward he is when it comes to a lot of things. Like, when it comes to rules, he'll actually be honest about it and be like, there are certain things I don't really want, that don't really condone. I don't really want you to do things like, reposting his MVs and stuff, which is just not good in general. He'll just say out that he actually doesn't like it, and I like that part of him. And then for Senra is his way of thinking. He gives good advices, and then he's also really nice to everyone. Not really nice to everyone, but he takes care of his listeners a lot. And then I'm pretty sure that in these 2 years of 1 year plus 2 years of following Senra is the reason why after following him, I think he shaped me to the way that I am right now. Like 16-year-old me and the 18-year-old me is totally different because of that. I think that's it.
I see. That was the last question. And do you have anything more you like to say?
Support your own taste. And within your own taste. Just do everything. Within, like, you find following them for, because they do a lot of streams, they do a lot of activities, and if you find like chasing after all their activities are so tough, it's always okay to take a break and then you don't have to spend money to like support them. Just if you're like, I don't really have a lot of money to support them because maybe I want to use the money on something else or anything, then you can always like watch their videos and just like their tweets, retweet their tweets. Really simple, but these are things that you actually can support your Oshi, so don't worry too much about. Just Oshi at your own pace and have fun.
Okay, thank you for this advice and thank you for this interview. It was really nice talking to you.
It was a mess. I was a mess, but it's okay. Thank you. If anyone's watching this, thank you for watching.
It is okay. Okay. So that's the end, and goodbye.
Bye bye.